You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
All right, we are a little bit late, but it'll be worth the wait because we are back for another absolutely rousing edition of Sirius Sports. And I am with my man, the dog father. What's going on, Brother Al?
Man, another day, another dollar, getting after it, trying to achieve the American dream in this changing time that we are in.
How's
Can
that
you hear
going?
me okay?
I can. I just had to change my mic setting. So how's that
Okay.
going? How's that going for you?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Well, I'm talking about the American dream.
Dude, it's a struggle. It's dealing with the daily nightmares and being optimistic and having a sense of humor, having good tools for navigation, knowing who to listen to, people who seem to know what's up and know what's coming and how to deal with and navigate that and make the best of everything moving forward. So I think that's how it goes right now.
How's your Spanish?
How's my Hispanic?
Yeah, Spanish.
Oh, my Spanish is okay, dude. I can I can understand Spanish. I can communicate in Spanish a little bit. So I'm okay with Spanish.
Let's pull back the curtain a little bit on the Al
Yeah.
Dog Day. What's your work crew like? Can you describe the composition of your work crew?
Yeah, sure. Good guys, man. Hardworking, very skilled, very hardworking guys that are into what they do. All they really do is work, and then they relax. Some of them are family guys. Some of them are kind of like single guys on the late 20s, early 30s, such as me. But an interesting group of people. I don't really talk about the show. They don't know I do this show. They know that I used to do content. I'm really good at managing different worlds. Like my work
Right.
world is my work world. You know what I mean? And there's some,
Yeah.
I kind of study people a little bit. I'm kind of a 24/7 anthropologist, right? There's my work world. There's, the serious sports thing I do. There's the book writing that I do. There's, the just comedic things I might do on Twitter or something like that. But they're all sort of different worlds. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they
Right.
don't mix. Cause I'm somebody who I used to always keep my family life and my friends' life separate. Cause whenever I mixed them, they would both piss me off. So you know what I'm saying? I learned to keep that one over here, this one over there.
Right. So at least you'd have maybe one kind of island of sanity while the other might not be so fun to hang out with. So being on a work crew is a lot like a team, right?
It very much is. Yeah.
It's not a sport, but it is a team. How do you guys handle assholes that are on your crew?
They get snuffed out. And the thing I'm blessed with currently is really, really good business management. And part of that is not too dissimilar from being a baseball manager, where you're kind of assembling guys and you're also sort of a chemist. You're putting guys together that are trying to get a job done and nothing else. If somebody's an asshole or somebody has an ego, or if somebody's awful to work with, it fucks up the whole team. And that affects the organization and that affects the bottom line. So luckily I don't work with any assholes, which is a huge blessing. And it's amazing. I have in the past. And the thing is, when an asshole is an employer, they can't retain employees. They can't.
Right.
Because I've worked with assholes in the past, and it's like they have a very high turnover rate and they just can't seem to figure it out, and they can't grow their business.
Interesting. Well, Joe Rogan used to work construction for his stepfather.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Joe's whole story. People were saying last week that Joe would beat me in a fight. And I just have to correct the record and say that I would punt Joe Rogan through the uprights of a field goal post. Okay. I would fucking slam Joe Rogan through a basketball hoop. Okay. I would hit him out of the park. I would knock him the fuck out. Okay.
All right.
I'm not being a tough guy, but I'm just saying everybody was saying that last week. And I'm saying Joe Rogan is 5'3". I don't care about his roundhouse kick. It's over. I love you, Joe. Not really, but I like you. I think you're a fun little munchkin, right? But come on, buddy. We're not. And people in the chat who are saying that, you're crazy. Okay.
Before you go pay-per-view with Rogan.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think you could work up a little bit? Could you start with Tim Pool?
Oh my God, dude. I would choke slam Tim Pool through a table. And then I would fucking climb up a ladder, a 16-foot ladder. And then I would flying elbow him through that table, followed by another choke slam and a DDT for good measure. But Tim Pool doesn't necessarily need that because he's going to scrape his elbows falling off his skateboard. You know what I'm saying? You know, even though he's 40 years old, still skating.
I have kind of a fight plan for you because Tim Pool's kind of a tomato can, right? Like that's what these like a tomato, right? That's what they used to call guys. You can punch them and they bleed real easy. So I would start you off on Tim Pool first to work up to Rogan. And then I
could take them both at once. It would be just.
Oh, now, hold on. I got to push back in there just a little bit, right? Then I think I'd have you take on. Do you know Anomaly?
Yeah, I could take Anomaly easily. Yeah.
So I'd work you up. I'd have Anomaly after Tim Pool.
Yeah.
I think what might be really interesting is you against Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro. Now that would be an interesting scrap.
Yeah, I could do that easily. I would bet the house on myself in that situation. I would bet everything. And I would encourage everybody I know to bet everything you got. It's a lock.
Okay. So prior to Rogan, I'd probably have you go up against Laura Loomer.
Oh my God. Loomer time.
I think you might be in trouble with Larry Loomer.
I would avoid her at all cost. I mean, it's been fun in a sort of sad way to sort of observe her career the last 3 or 4 years. And it's just like, I'm out of here. Like, yeah, get away from me, Loomer. You know what I mean?
You know, there's word in the street that she is a he, right?
I don't think that. I think it's a woman because I just think it's a woman. And yeah, it's just, you know.
Oh, listen to this. I'd whoop you up, Al dog.
It's entirely possible. You know, I'm not saying anybody. I'm not the toughest guy in the world, but I'm saying those particular guys.
Yeah.
Bet everything you got.
All right, Al. You and I will plot your truth or reality fight card.
Dude, it has to happen because look at what happened with boxing and YouTube. Like YouTube boxing is the hottest thing in the world. It is the sport of boxing as far as I'm concerned. Like I love what Jake Paul did. I think it's fantastic. So,
dude, I think Jake Paul's a handful, man.
Dude, I think he's seriously. Guess what? In my personal opinion, he's the greatest boxer out right now because I can't name another one. I really can't. I don't know.
If Tyson Fury took is training seriously,
yeah,
and he's kind of close to the end. That was the last thing I made. The last bet I made was Tyson Fury over Deontay Wilder, and I won that bet. I'm like, I'm good. I'm going out of this a winner.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think that uppercut that Jake Paul delivered to that dude in that fight, he knocked him out with what? He was like a little over a minute into the fight or something like that. I mean,
and that's like
devastating.
That's like the 8th dude he's knocked out. He has one loss against Fury's brother, your younger brother or cousin or something, who is a professional boxer. He did have that one loss, but it was tough. It was very competitive. I guess next he's going to fight Dwight Howard, is what I'm hearing.
He'll kick Dwight out. I mean, Dwight Howard is a big dude.
Right.
Dwight Howard is like 6'11".
Yep.
He's still athletic. I don't know. Dwight doesn't strike me as somebody that has the killer instinct, you know.
Dude, if the end of his career and some of the revelations that have come out within the last couple of years about Dwight Howard, I mean, he might be in the Alex Jones club. If you get what I'm saying.
You know, he could be just an absolute raging queen in the ring, and you
Yeah.
get him pissed off. You never know, man.
Mhm.
Dwight's a Sagittarius, by the way.
Yeah. But I would say
So
this in respect to guys like Rogan and guys like Tim Pool, typically small guys like that are good fighters. And it's typically the Dwight Howards that aren't good fighters because nobody wants to fight a 6'11" guy. But the guys that are on the shorter side, they've scrapped. They scrap. They have experience. So
my father always told me if it came down to a good big man versus a good little man, always take the good big man.
Okay.
That was my father was pretty smart about this stuff. I'll tell you what else he told me. He said, listen, if you ever get into a fight with a Mexican, you got to break one of their bones. I said, why?
You know what my father said?
They'll come back at you later on, right? You have to make sure that was one of his words of wisdom. You have to fight a Mexican, break one of their bones.
Yeah. My dad had good advice about fighting because he fought a lot. He said that the only fight you win is the one you don't get in. And I buy into that. You know what I'm saying? But you could win in a fight, hypothetically, if it was a YouTube truther boxing circuit where potentially guys debate. And if they can't settle the debate, they just box it out. That'd be cool.
I think they should just box it out. Fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been too much talk already. There's a lot of beefing going on out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So Owen Benjamin is what, about 6'5", 6'6"?
6'8".
6'8".
Yeah.
Okay. You got a 6'8" guy. And how tall is Joe Rogan? What, 5'4"?
Pushing it. I think it's realistically 5'3", 5'4" max. Yeah.
That'd be interesting. 6 just for the height differential.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Right? That would be such a good event.
Yeah. That could be good.
That needs to happen. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be like Owen calls himself the bear, so it'd be like the bear versus the meatball, or like the bear versus the munchkin, or it'd be,
how about the bear versus the Wolverine? How about that?
I got a better one. How about they dress up as Austin Powers and Mini-Me, and Joe Rogan is Mini-Me?
I don't think Rogan would go for that.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't. I mean,
although here's what I do think. You can, like get him into cosplay and literally put Owen Benjamin in a bear suit and then put like Rogan in a panda bear suit.
Okay.
There you go.
I got one. How about fucking Owen as Bowser, sort of a Mario theme, and then fucking Joe can be like Super Mario.
Okay, and then they just fight in VR.
Or Donkey Kong. Yeah, or just like, I don't know, if we're doing costume themed fight, I think there's a lot you could do with that. It'd be kind of fun. But yeah, that would be a really good fight. If Dwight Howard gets knocked out by Jake Paul, big man fall hard. I mean, he's got a long way to go to the ground at 6'11".
So Cognitive Dissonance writes, Joe's all hopped up on TRT. And have you seen his kick? He'd chop Owen Benjamin like a tree. That's what Michael was saying last week. And then Joe Rogan is fucking legit in Taekwondo, dude. And he's I think you'd have your hands full, brother. I'm saying.
I don't think it would be easy, but I'll tell you this, man. Give me a little bit of training and I will choke slam him. I will stone cold stunner him. I will give him a tombstone. And then, it's over.
If we could bottle your confidence / arrogance, we'd make a ton of money off of it right now.
But no, seriously, I would definitely win. I would definitely win against Joe for sure.
And he's got 2 black belts, jiu-jitsu and taekwondo. Dude, you'd have to like come up with a plan. You'd have to have a plan with Rogan.
It would be well, no, if this was a serious thing, I would seriously train and I would seriously win. But other than that, I would give him a fucking rock bottom. I would give him the people's elbow. I would just fucking I would layeth the smack down on Joe Rogan on his little meatball ass without question.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
So listen to this.
This has become like a wrestling promo show or a boxing show.
Look at this. My man Michael. Michael is a badass martial artist, by the way.
Okay.
Michael is a BJJ guy. He taught George St. Pierre his spinning back kick.
Okay, so Michael, if I fight Joe Rogan, you can train me because you seem to know all the moves. You seem to know the whole background.
And we can make a lot of money. I've never met you in person. How tall are you?
I'm the most honest height possible, which is a hair shy of 5'11". Well,
5'11".
tiny bit shy of 5'11".
Okay, Michael has agreed to become your trainer.
Okay.
So you got a trainer. I'll be your promoter.
Yeah.
Okay, and Joan can be our fight girl.
Okay. Okay, I'm not kidding. Like, this is when we enter the realm of not kidding, because I like pontificating about these things, but it's way better when you actually do it, right? So Joe's in the stratosphere as far as his market value, right? I'll be totally honest about that. He's a household name at this point, right? With you as promo, I need to increase my YouTube. I need to do my own YouTube channel more. I need to follow in the Jake Paul footsteps and become a bigger YouTuber. From there, I have to increase my clout.
Well, now you're putting conditions on this. So come on now. A few minutes ago, you were, but this would be a good way to punch up, literally. Well, not quite. You'd be punching down, but you'd also be simultaneously punching up.
Well, plot twist. Okay, so we got to increase the clout. That needs to happen. That's part of the business. That's part of the Jake Paul model. Let's go for Anomaly. Anomaly. I will kick your fucking ass right here, right now. I'm calling you out. Boxing match. Let's make it happen.
Wow,
we have mutual friends.
I love it.
I have Anomaly's number. Okay, because I hooked him up with an interview in like 2017, 2018 when I was working with Dr. Shiva. So I have his number, and I have his number in more ways than one. So Anomaly, I'm laying down the challenge right now. It's on.
So Joan said she'd be happy to fix your knocked out teeth.
Oh my God. The confidence you guys have in Rogan is absurd. Like 5'3", he could have 12 black belts. You know what I mean?
William will be your ring man. He'll hand you drinks.
Okay. But hey, we're going for Anomaly. Like, why not? I think he'd be down.
Anomaly is doable.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's doable. I think that would be. I think you guys are kind of close in age, although he might be a little bit younger than you, maybe about 32 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get you in training, and all right, man, it's on.
Okay,
it's on.
Anomaly.
Yeah, just jump right over Tim Pool, literally. Just jump right over.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we turn our topic to sports?
Yes.
All right. So last week, as we were streaming, like the NFL coaching tree just got completely shaken out. Like we talked about Saban because that was happening in real time. Harbaugh and Michigan had just stomped all over Washington, and Kalen DeBoer wound up going to Alabama, right? So he's the new coach at Alabama. But then Belichick steps away. I don't know. I mean, nobody knows what happened. Did he quit? Did the Crafts fire him? Was it just a mutual handshake, parting of the ways, right? So he's out there. And then I think, like either during the show or after the show, Pete Carroll wound up getting released by Seattle. And I put this tweet on Twitter, which was the Saturnian gods of the NFL are moving. They're stepping aside, and it's no country for old men in the new Aquarian order. And I think that there's some truth to that, because all those guys are so archetypal in terms of their. Now Harbaugh is clearly the outlier. He's younger than those guys, and Harbaugh is I think 2 years younger than me. He's born in '62, so Harbaugh's got some tread on his tires. He still has some tread on his tires. But the other three are really emblematic of this changing of the guard. And then if you look at the coaches that are in the playoffs right now in the NFL, with the exception of a couple, like the Tampa Bay coach. Oh God, I'm spacing out his name, but it'll come back to me.
Yeah,
John Harbaugh is. I think John Harbaugh is a little bit younger than Jim. I think John might be like 58 or 59, something like that. Kyle Shanahan's in his 40s. He's not old. He's not young. But Matt LaFleur is young. D'Amico Ryans in Houston is young. Like, these are two young coaches with very young teams. Sean McDermott is not young in Buffalo. Andy Reid is a fossil,
Mhm.
right? I mean, literally, he looks like a fossil. So, but we have these guys on the come up. Even Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's still in his 30s.
Mhm.
Like Dan Campbell, I think is around 38 or 39, which is still pretty young for an NFL coach. Todd Bowles. I love Todd Bowles. And Todd Bowles is one of these guys who's just really soft-spoken. I think he got a kind of a raw deal in New York. But he's also one of those guys who would probably just take your fucking head off. It's the quiet guys you got to watch out for. And I'm a big fan of the Baker Mayfield story.
Mhm.
I'm really happy for Baker. But it's this change into the guard
Yeah.
with all these guys who are somewhere between like 70 and 73. And in astrology, they have this thing called the Saturn opposition, which happens at 14, 44, and 74.
Mhm.
And when you hit those oppositions with Saturn, you have to change your life, right? And when you're 14, what happens? You move away from your family, culturally. You find your own music, you find your own fashion. It's one of those classic kind of breaking away moments with that Saturn opposition. At 44, generally hit the glass ceiling with your work. So you have the Saturn opposition, and there are some options for that. Like you start your own business, you find your passion, or you become a father later in life. And I was in that third category. I became a father at 44. And then 74 rolls around, and then that's connected to a time when you are supposed to be moving away from your work world and doing something different. So all those guys are up. They're not, I don't think they're 70. I think Saban might be the oldest at 73. Him and Carroll might be around 73.
Mhm.
I know Belichick is 72. So they're all in that range. And they're all coming up on the Saturn opposition, which means that within 2 to 3 years for each of them, they're faced with huge life. So they're on the precipice, or in astrology, we call it the cusp. They're on the cusp of big life changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say that they have at the most between 1 to 3 seasons before they hit the Saturn opposition. So I'll throw this out to you, because Belichick, who's an Aries,
Mhm.
and he always, he's from the Naval Academy, right? That's his background, big military thing. He was friends with Bob Knight, another military guy. It's all kind of this military coaching fraternity. And Belichick loves a challenge, being an Aries. And he just met with Arthur Blank of the Atlanta Falcons for the head coaching job.
Love it.
What would happen? Because now Belichick is kind of chasing Don Shula for the most wins.
Mhm.
But what happens to Belichick's legacy if the next, say, 2 to 3 years in Atlanta are a lot like the last 2 to 3 years in New England? What happens to his legacy at that? It's already kind of a little tarnished a little bit because Tom was not there, right?
Mhm.
All the winning takes place with Tom Brady. He had one winning season after Tom, and the last 2 seasons have been a disaster. So does Belichick risk his legacy by taking on another head coaching gig and kind of going after this wins total? So what's your take on that?
All right. Well, it sort of reminds me of the philosophical nature of retirement and whether or not some men are capable, whether or not it's good for men to retire at all. Because I know there's some sort of connection where guys retire, they die shortly after. Sometimes, when a spouse dies, the male or the woman, they die shortly after. There's a energetic connection there. So for a guy like Belichick, I don't think retirement is an option. I really don't. Because like the Aries that he is, he's going to keep going until he flops, like completely flops.
Well, he'll run into a wall. I mean, that's what an Aries will do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I see him, and I I have faith in Bill to an extent because I think the last 2 years in New England, the one thing that has brought him down is nepotism. Specifically with his son, who he brought up as a linebackers coach. And it's like, has that fucking, is
Well, he's got two sons there, right? In New England.
Yeah. So if he continues the nepotism, I'm betting against Bill. But if he wants to go Darth Vader mode, sicko mode, and get revenge on some people who have perhaps slighted him in the past, you got to get wind of the media at some point, Bill. We know you have this wall, this impenetrable wall that is admirable in regards to your defenses against the media. But these people in New England, I know for a fact they've been talking shit for like the last year and a half about you specifically all day. That had to piss you off at some point. So I would bet on Bill Belichick if he goes Darth Vader mode, if he wants to be grandpa mode and bring along his sons in some nepotism hires, I would bet against him. So I'm going to be paying attention to that part.
So Ozzie Newsome, who was the general manager for the Baltimore Ravens, and prior to that, the Cleveland Browns. He played. Ozzie Newsome was great. He was great as a player, great as a general manager. He stepped down. He let Eric DeCosta take over, but he's still in the game. Like, he's a special assistant to Eric DeCosta. Yeah. Dusty Baker, I think Dusty's 73, maybe 74, stepped away from Major League Baseball. Right. He lost the World Series. And Dusty's a super nice guy. He's not the greatest postseason manager. But I'm like, I looked at Dusty and it's like, he's getting out at the right time. Right? He's up against his Saturn opposition. He doesn't know about it, but he knows that the clock is about to strike 12. What does he do? He winds up becoming a special assistant for the San Francisco Giants. So he's kind of coming back home to the Giants. So some of these guys could wind up still in the game. They don't have to just go hit the golf course,
right,
or go travel. So they can still be involved. They can still do things. They just don't have to be a head coach.
All right.
Right.
So I want to throw that question back at you. You're Bill Belichick's astrologer. What does he do? What do you think he should do? Because we know for a fact that you called Tom Brady, like, Tom, you should have hung it up a year ago. You shouldn't have done that last year. So for Bill, though, what would you say as his astrologer?
I would tell him to go become a head coach of a small college football team somewhere.
Whoa.
I would say, Bill, take one of the 3 armed forces schools, figure out which one wants you, and go coach there.
Wow. Because
now the thing about the armed forces schools is that like you're fucking committed to Army, Navy, or Air Force. So the transfer portal don't work there, brother. Right?
That's a good point. Nobody's transferring in, even if you have a great year.
Have to worry about that transfer portal shit.
Right. That's funny. That's wicked funny. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That they're there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, look at this. Nora Rashid fled from work early to be a part of this. Look at that.
Let's go, Nora. What's up?
So I think the chat is about 50-50 ladies and men tonight. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I say pick the one school out of those 3. Whoever needs a new coach, go there.
Okay. Speaking of college football, speaking of transfer portal, I have a theory on Nick Saban that I'd like to share. You know, his recent retirement. Are you ready?
Let's talk about Nick Saban's sun sign. He's a Scorpio.
Okay.
Right? He's in that Saturn opposition pocket.
Yeah. So prior to him publicly retiring, there were about 20 University of Alabama football players that entered the transfer portal, which would lead me to 2 conclusions concerning Nick's retirement. Either he told his players, which kind of strikes me as a Nick Saban thing to do. He always strike me as sort of a classy guy.
Except when he was with the Dolphins.
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's all I've seen.
We'll-
All I've seen of Nick is really Alabama.
We'll cover that when you're done.
LSU.
I'll backstory that for you when you're done.
Yeah, because I'd like to know more about that because I have no clue. Self-interested, but he seemed to be a classy guy when he's there. Okay, so he could have told his players that, hey, I'm going to retire soon. If you want to hit the portal, we're going to support you. Okay,
I think
he could have
that's
told them.
probably true. I would agree with that.
Or the second option is these players, being the self-interested professionals that they are, entered the portal looking for better deals. And Nick says, you know what? This is my sign. Fuck this. I'm out. This is the time. If these guys are, I was a college football coach. This isn't college football anymore. Now is my time to retire.
Well, that's why it's no country for old men. This is not Nick Saban's world.
Right.
Right. It is not his world.
Mhm.
And yeah, let's keep it at that level. He can't spend the amount now, and there are people who will say, well, now that you have NIL and the transfer portal and all these players can be paid, Alabama loses its recruiting edge. That may be true.
Mm-hmm.
That may be true, but and they're saying, well, he's running scared. There's a line from a Clint Eastwood movie, Dirty Harry movie, right? A man's got to know his limits.
Right.
And he knows his limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he does, there's nothing wrong. I hate this. Well, he's just scared and running chicken. He can't compete with the Dion Sanders of the world. No, he doesn't want to.
Right.
I think it's a completely different position.
Yeah, I think he could have sensed, what was going on, just saw where it was going and just decided this is my time now, and maybe he let those players know, maybe he didn't. Well, we might never know, but that was kind of the two interesting scenarios I was thinking about in regards to Saban. It's just a total paradigm shift, both in the pros and in college.
Absolutely.
And
Saban is under the Bill Belichick coaching tree too. That's the other part of it. He coached with Bill.
Did he?
He coached with Bill when Bill was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's one of the guys in the Belichick coaching tree that actually kind of did something versus all the rest who kind of floundered. Nora's back again with a highlighted comment. Scorpios won't tell their next step. She's absolutely right about that.
Wow.
So mum's the word. Nick Saban coached the Miami Dolphins for one season.
Wow.
He was a hot ticket. In fact, he coached Michigan State, coached him up, and Miami came and knocking. He was there one season, and he realized that he didn't have what it took. Because in a lot of ways, at a college level, there's a hierarchy, right? You're the coach, and then these are the players.
Mm-hmm.
At the pro level, that hierarchy gets real thin.
Yeah.
So Nick could not do the same thing in Miami that he did with college.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a man's got to know his limitations. And he knew what his limitations were. So he left and went to LSU and,
what's crazier? Did you know that Nick's already been replaced at Alabama? You know who it was?
It's Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah. The Washington coach.
So I want to bring a picture up of Kalen DeBoer.
Okay.
Because when I saw him on the national game, I had never seen him before.
Yep.
And I fucking guessed his astrological sign.
Based off his facial features?
Absolutely.
That's
it's one of the easiest astrological signs to guess.
Wow. Let's see if I can do it. I'm super entry level, but let's just see. If it's one of the easiest ones, maybe I'll get it.
All right, hold on. Let me get a good picture here.
But what's interesting, which we should talk about once we talk about this picture, is how he went about it, his head coaching switch.
Okay, here we go. Let me put this up here. All right, here we go. You ready? You ready,
Yeah,
Al?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if the Astro Chad can figure this out.
The first thing I might look at is the forehead, but the forehead seems to be covered, but it does seem to be a big forehead. Um, nose is sort of Romanesque. He's got some ears. They're not huge ears, but they're definitely some ears. Okay. And you're saying it's the easiest because when you said the easiest, I'm looking forehead
totally
Aries.
the easiest sign to guess.
Okay, based on facial features.
Yes.
Okay, is he sort of fish-like? Is he kind of like a flounder? That's what I'm
No.
wondering as well.
No.
All right, I was gonna guess Aries. This is what I was hoping for. I was hoping for him to have a massive forehead, and I would guess Aries. So
He's a Scorpio.
okay.
And you can tell Scorpios because they have these slitty lizard eyes,
Oh my God.
right?
Yeah.
I'll be kind and fair. It doesn't always happen. We got some Scorpios
Yeah.
in the chat here, but he's got those eyes.
Oh, dude, this is nuts. And this is the woman's comment about Scorpio not telling people their next move is spot on. Because listen to what he does.
Well, I don't know if
She's a Scorpio.
No,
But
but
listen to
Kelly's
how-
a Scorpio.
Listen to how Scorpio this is. So players from Washington, the University of Washington, have gone to the internet, gone to Instagram, and described how he made the transition from their head coach to the University of Alabama's head coach. And so he was going to team meetings like up until like the 24-hour mark. Then he just doesn't tell anybody he goes. And he's the head coach of Alabama.
That's
the most
Scorpio.
that's the most Scorpio thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yep.
So he was exchanging emails, within a time period, and it was a done deal, and he was still going to fucking Washington meetings. Didn't tell his team. This guy is what can we expect from him as a coach at the University of Alabama as a Scorpio?
Kelly, I love you, but it's true. It's true. What do I expect from him as a coach? Well, if his track record is anything, he'll be successful. I think, like anything else, it's going to depend on how he does with the boosters and NIL and, outbidding Dion Sanders for players. I mean, that's what unfortunately it's going to come down to. But he coached at, I think, like a Division II school or III school. And you and I talked about this. His coaching record, including his time at Washington, is like 100 plus wins versus 11 losses. The guy's
absurd.
only fucking lost 11 times.
Yeah, it's literally
coaching
insane.
career.
This guy's coaching record. Should we pull it up?
Look at Kelly. That's funny. Me and my squinty ass eyes.
Kelly's a big Bama fan, so she's been paying attention quite a bit to this whole situation. It was just wild, dude. Freaking Belichick, Saban, Carroll.
It's a changing of the guard. It's really the turning of an age.
Yeah.
In the NFL and football. And all those guys in their own right represent this kind of gladiatorial, Belichick, Aries, and the Army, and Saban, kind of this scorpionic grinder, getting in Chris Gardner's head with that Scorpio kind of, mind talk that he did up in Michigan State. Who else do we have? Pete Carroll. Carroll's a bit of an outlier because he was always like a player's coach.
Yep.
By the way, I'm going to try and get Pete Carroll on this show.
That'd be awesome.
Because I had Barry from Dr. Barry from Alpha Beta. Yeah. He was. I was on their show, and he grew up with Pete Carroll. He and Pete are friends.
Mm-hmm.
So now that Pete's out of a job, maybe he can come on the show. That'd be cool, huh?
He strikes me as the type of guy that could potentially be into astrology. He's always had that West Coast sort of vibe, and his brand, for whatever reason, has always been synonymous with fun. He's always had a fun brand.
Pete's cool, man.
Yeah.
He's totally cool. Look at Nora Rashid coming in with the football knowledge here. How about McCarthy? He's a Scorpio. Will Dallas release him with Dak? Did they intentionally lose that game on Sunday? So those are two separate questions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about McCarthy. Then we'll talk about Dak.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was watching that Philadelphia Bucks game last night.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the worst fucking tackling.
Yeah.
Like there was that guy from the Bucks who caught a pass on the sideline, and the Philly cornerback just kind of, did a little dotsy-do around his waist.
Yeah.
And then the guy kind of peeled out of it and then took it to the house. I mean, it was, and even before he got to the end zone, the guys are kind of tripping all over. I mean, it was like the fucking Keystone Cops.
Yeah. You see some tackles in the NFL, you question whether or not it was a business decision to like not, risk it or something. Cause it's like, sometimes it's like, you really do question the effort. And like, this is how I would describe that week of NFL playoffs. If you wanted to design a situation where gamblers lost as much money as possible, it would have been with those results. You know what I mean? Like,
well, clearly there was big money on Dallas.
Right. That's a good example. But like Miami scored
because of how popular they are,
Mm-hmm.
Coming in. I mean, they looked like, that they would deal with Green Bay at home.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think they would have lost a lot. The house won clearly on that bet. Let's talk about McCarthy. He is a Scorpio. Will Dallas release him? Jerry Jones is extremely loyal. I've seen him hold on to players that he should have cut for any number of reasons past their expiration date. He'll give out contracts that are insane. Like his contract to Ezekiel Elliott was fucking insane. I would never have given him that contract. But he felt it's like he's paying for what they've done and not what they'll do. So I don't know if he'll get rid of McCarthy. A lot of people are saying that Belichick should go to Dallas. I would not do that because Jerry's a Libra and Bill's an Aries. And in, male-to-male relationships, opposite signs become rivals.
Wow.
So I would not do that if I was Jerry. And that would probably, if I was Jerry Jones, I would throw the kitchen sink at Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink.
Yep.
No, I would not move on to Dan Quinn as a head coach. Dan Quinn, the defense did not show up on Sunday. And I like Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is born on 9/11, by the way. So Dan Quinn's a Virgo.
Interesting.
So I would be okay. I think McCarthy has 1 year left on his deal. Right? I think he's got 1 year left. And they've been 12-4 for the last 3 seasons, and they've been pretty much one and done in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And everybody loves him. Dak Prescott loves him. I would shake his hand and say, the next year's on us, buddy. Right? And as far as Dak goes, I think Dak has 2 years left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken. If you get rid of Dak Prescott, like as far as the Cowboys, Dak's a Leo, by the way. And I really, as a dude, I like Dak Prescott.
Okay.
But there was a lot of garbage time stats, a lot of padding.
Yeah.
The Cowboys beat up on a lot of patsies this year. And they're a front running team. When they're ahead, they will just steamroll you. When they're behind, it's hard for them to come back. I don't know, and of course Jerry loves Dak, and he's really loyal. But where do you go? Like, where do you go? You got Cooper Rush on the bench. And then you have, what's his name they got from the 49ers in a trade?
Your boy there, the backup. What's his name again?
Oh, fuck. He's so irrelevant now.
Right.
I can't even remember his name. That's terrible because I usually remember names.
Yeah.
Trey Lance. They got Trey Lance.
Yeah.
All the Trey stands are coming out now. Oh, yeah, he should be starting there in Dallas. If Trey was that guy, he would have been starting in San Francisco, but he's not that guy.
Right.
So where do you go? If you're looking around, you got to find yourself a quarterback. And Baker Mayfield would have been a really good option, but
Wow, he would be hilarious in Dallas.
well, here's the deal with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Let's play this out. Baker, by the way, keeping it astrological, Baker's an Aries. Now, he could get into that with Jerry Jones, but how much time does Jerry Jones have left too? I mean, that's the other thing. Jerry Jones I think he's what, 82 or 83, and he's an old 82, 83.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell like things are catching up with him. Stephen Jones, his son, is a Gemini, and he's the next in line to run the team. Baker Mayfield signed a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Wow.
If I were the Cowboys, I would sign Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I love Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a winner, and he has the ability. Baker Mayfield has charisma. And I was watching him come off the field last night. And as he was running into the tunnel, he was wearing a cap, like a Bucks cap. He's running in the tunnel. He flings his cap into the crowd, and then he throws his gloves into the crowd on the other side. That's like a fucking rock star move.
Baker,
right?
He loves what he does, and you can see it, and he wears it, that he loves it. And his enthusiasm is contagious. And that level of enthusiasm is reflective of a unique brand of leadership that you can only derive from true love and passion for the game. And that's what you see with that kid.
He's
Every
an
time he
Aries.
plays.
It's like he's on, and they will follow him into battle. And that's one of the things that theoretically the Cleveland Browns loved about him. And then, he said something interesting. I think it was last night. He basically said, yeah, I mean, I'm back to being me. When I came into the league, they told me to tamp it down a little bit. Maybe his
They had
personality.
PTSD after Johnny Manziel, it seems, with drafting quarterbacks, right?
Well, no, I just think that they were like, put a cap on it, tamp it down. And I don't think Baker was being really authentic, and he was trying to fit in. And he kind of he talked about this. He got to LA, and Sean McVay said, look, you got 5 games. Just let it all hang out. Okay. Just, be you.
Yeah.
And that's where he kind of refound his spark.
Right.
And some of those games he played for the Rams, he looked really good. You could see flashes of the old Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So, and he's somebody, when you look at his life, right? He's been through a little bit of hardship. It's not the same hardship that, say, somebody who's on food stamps has been through, but his father was a developer in Austin.
Okay.
And they got smashed during the housing crisis. So they kind of lost everything.
Yeah.
And they went from living in, a nice pad, and they had to start living in rental houses like the rest of us. So Baker's status kind of took a hit, and those things, they do build some degree of character, and it wasn't like going from middle class to living at Hotel 6, but it definitely was a step down. Right. And so I think they should, I disagree with the Trey Lance thing. I think they should go out and get Baker Mayfield. They had thought about drafting Baker Mayfield. That's the other part of it.
Mm-hmm.
They thought about it. They thought about drafting Mansell. Just go get Baker Mayfield. And I would say Dak Prescott has 2 years left on his deal. I would see if I could try to trade Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I like those moves. Baker in Dallas would be the true definition of prime time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
You get Baker there. You get Jim Harbaugh there. Jim Harbaugh is kind of a quarterback whisperer. I mean, that's what you need. Now, what's interesting,
you become more of a Dallas Cowboys fan, it seems, being in Texas.
Not really.
Okay.
No, I'm just looking at this objectively.
Okay.
And by the way, I have an interesting connection with the Jones family.
Yeah.
Which, like, I actually partied one night with Jerry Jones's granddaughter.
Okay.
Nice person, super nice person. And it was through some friends. So it's not like I fucking go on the yacht, but
yeah.
I hear kind of what yacht yacht life is like every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I would do. I don't know if Justin Fields is such a wild card. He's a Cancer, right?
Yeah.
So you could tell that Justin Fields has that kind of moody, like sometimes he's there to play, and that's the nature of Cancer. They're kind of tidal, right? They're on, they're off, they're on, they're off, and when they're on, they're great. When they're off, they're not so great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not impossible to be a successful Cancer quarterback in the league, but I don't know. I'd go get Baker. I'd go get Harbaugh, and fucking jack that franchise into hyperdrive.
What do you think about Bill Belichick's replacement, Gerard Mayo? What's your take on that?
So he's respected.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bill, I think Bill was going to make him the defensive coordinator at some point, and I think they always kind of looked at him as somebody who could step into that role. He kind of reminds me a little bit of D'Amico Ryans.
Okay.
When Ryans was the linebacker coach for the 49ers and they bumped him up to DC, and now he's just kicking ass and taking names in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Does it look like a diversity hire on the surface? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'll give the guy benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew Bill liked him. Bill hired him. Must have some ability, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Coaches are trending younger, and maybe he's got a rapport with the players. I'll tell you another guy who, if I was the Cowboys, that I would look at. He's just right down the road in Houston, and that's Bobby Slowick.
Okay.
And he's the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. And, their quarterback, Bryce, what's his name? Not Bryce Young, the other guy. Stroud. Yeah. CJ Stroud. He's looked fantastic, right?
Right.
And Slowick is off the Shanahan coaching tree. You can take him and plug and play him inside of Dallas, and that would be an interesting. But would Bobby Slowick sell tickets? Probably not. Would Jim Harbaugh sell tickets? I mean, the Cowboys sell tickets anyway.
Yeah.
So it may not even matter. But that's a guy that I would look at is Bobby Slowick, because look how well that offense has played. And Shanahan's coaching tree, pretty successful. Right, all the guys that have come out, like I even think Robert Saleh, but I would say Robert Saleh is more out of the Pete Carroll coaching tree because that's where he started in Seattle, and then he went to San Francisco, and then he went to the Jets. But I do think Saleh is a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have LaFleur in Green Bay, Mike McDaniel in Miami, and you have D'Amico Ryans in Houston. And what's interesting is that you have a combination of offensive, defensive guys. So I'd look at Slowick, and then the offensive coordinator with the Lions is going to get a big deal. Somebody's going to hire him, and so it's going to be a very interesting offseason. And I think based on, just to wrap this segment up, right?
Yeah. Based
on these sort of Saturnian icons, I would stay away from them, and I don't put Harbaugh in that category. I would stay away from them, and I would hire young coaches.
Yeah,
that's where I'd go.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a question. I have a few questions I need to ask you concerning the NFL playoffs. The first is, well, there's two. I'm just going to tell you what they are right now. This whole deal with the Chiefs, Mrs. Swift, and how it ties into the financial system and some of your predictions, in the February, March, April area. To me, for some reason, I got this gut feeling like it's all connected. Okay. I want to ask you more specifically about that. I'll structure that question in a better way. That's a synopsis of it. The second thing I want to ask you is how the, chart, the color prediction that you made based on them basically telling us that it's going to be a red team and a purple team. And then having a huge article in CBS Sports about how, hey, isn't it a weird coincidence that the Super Bowl contenders for the last 3 years have all been in a 1-to-1 ratio with the Super Bowl logo? Okay. We talked about this a while back, and it seems the Bucks could shake things up because they're a red team in the NFC. So are the San Francisco 49ers, another red team. But it kind of still seems, and it seemed like for like the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, that the Niners and the Ravens are on a collision course. The purple team and the red team, just as predicted months ago. I never thought it would be so simple. You know what I mean? So which one do you want to do first? Because those are the two questions that I have that I've been thinking about kind of all week in some weird way.
So let's talk about the Taylor Swift.
Okay.
If we'll put the kind of economic model on the side for a second, right?
Okay.
Like Swift banking, digital currency,
Yep.
and all that stuff, right? So NBC, the NFL sold the rights to that game to Peacock.
And people were pissed. People were pissed about that generally.
At that point, what is the NFL saying? The NFL is saying, we don't care if fans watch the game.
Well, they're also saying something else. They're also telling you this is a show. If you want to watch this show, this theatrical show, you better buy a fucking ticket. That's what they said.
I think that that's part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they're also telling fans, we don't care. If we want you to watch, and the other thing too, think about this, and I had not made this connection before.
Yeah.
Like, what did Taylor Swift fans do? They paid money to go see the concert.
Oh my God,
right?
Dude. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, dude. All those fans, all those Taylor Swift fans who would have never bought a ticket to a football game probably ordered that game.
That's right.
Like, oh my God. So they brought in millions. Okay. They don't give a fuck about the fans. They just got millions of more ticket sales. Now they're selling tickets.
Well, they got the money. So who's getting the money? It's Peacock.
Yeah.
Peacock's getting the money. Peacock paid the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? For that game.
Oh, dude.
For the right to broadcast that game. So then they're going to get all these Swifties.
Oh my God.
Signing up for Peacock just so they could see Taylor Swift, and knowing in advance that was going to happen, they could go to their advertisers with all the Taylor Swift demographics, metrics, and numbers and jack everything. Well, yeah. So you got a playoff game, you got a Taylor Swift, you got the Swifties. What you don't have is the NFL fan.
Okay, this is what's going to happen. Okay, do you recall the Colorado versus USC game at Colorado? It was like the Hip Hop Source Awards, okay, with the amount of celebrities that were in attendance at that game. They're going to do the same fucking model. You want to watch Colorado versus USC? Well, guess what? $7 on Peacock. That's the new model.
Well, I don't, I think they should probably have that on BET.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Something.
No, I think that there's some truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Like for specific games, I could see them separating them out.
Yes.
Right. And we're just, and that's, I think, the league and sort of the network's way of kind of putting their flag in the streaming wars, right?
Yeah, and they kind of beta tested this a little bit, or was tested with Amazon Prime. There were some Thursday night games that were only on Amazon Prime, and you were effectively like renting the game. You know what I mean? To watch it that night, you had to get on this specific streaming site, and I think that's going to be a huge model moving forward. And it's going to be sports and entertainment blended. And there's going to be storylines blended. Let's not kid ourselves. This Taylor Swift Kelsey thing, I'm happy for them. They're both, I hope you guys, have a great
It's
family.
so fucking fake. I'm sorry. It's fake.
Well, it's a storyline. It's a storyline that blends sports and entertainment. I think we can expect to see more of it.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting like Russell Wilson married Ciara.
Yes.
And Ciara, she's not Taylor Swift, but she's kind of an R&B diva
Mhm.
icon. The NFL went nowhere with that. Now,
True.
I did see a Ciara video,
Yeah.
like play at a halftime one time, and it wasn't even a performance; it was a video.
Mhm.
But it was like, they're not going down that path. That
You know what's
she wasn't
interesting about-
famous enough.
Well, you know what's interesting though about Taylor, just in terms of fame, it's like, do you know that guy Sage of Quay, Mike
Yeah,
Williams?
of course. Yeah.
So he did a great show on Taylor, and he's known for his Beatles research. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift, as a construct and as a mechanism of social engineering, is entering that strata almost on par, not quite the Beatles, but like within the last 2 years or so, it's been like Taylor all the time. And it's like, she's 33 this year. She's a horse. She's a Sagittarius. That's really being leveraged to put her in the spotlight, central, all time, false idol, essentially.
Right. Let me see. Let me show this here. So one of the theories. Now, I don't know how this works out in terms of age, but there seems to be an uncanny resemblance between Taylor Swift and Anton LaVey's daughter. So, do you know who Anton LaVey is?
Church of Satan /
Yeah.
CIA spook, something like that.
Yeah, more Church of Satan-y kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't think LaVey was an asset.
Okay.
Michael Aquino was an asset. So here we have Zena LaVey and then Taylor Swift. Now, I don't know how this works out in terms of age, but come on now. They're asking this question: is she a clone of Zena? You can kind of see the resemblance there.
There's a striking resemblance.
But if you look at Taylor Swift and her performances, they're decidedly satanic.
Well, I don't question that, but what I am curious about at this current moment is, what does Taylor Swift's biological mom look like?
That probably doesn't matter too much, but we can look at her. Yeah. Let's see. Nora Rashid says, I'd like to bet Robert a cup of coffee that Mike Tomlin goes to Dallas. I'll take you up on that. I'll tell you why I'll take you up on that, Nora, is because Mike Tomlin said that he's going to honor his contract. He said it. He said it after he walked out of his press conference. So I think that Mike Tomlin is one of these guys. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Now, could he somehow talk to the Rooneys and get out of his deal? Maybe. But he'd have to kind of massage that messaging because he's known for being kind of a straight shooter. I'll take your bet. Sigurd says, I always thought she looks like waxwork of Risky Business era Rebecca De Mornay. Rebecca De Mornay looked a little bit better than that. Did you ever see Omar Epps and Mike Tomlin together?
No, I haven't. That's funny.
Do you know who Omar Epps is?
I know the name, but I think I know where.
Come on, man. He was in Juice, one of the greatest hip hop.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I Googled it. They look very similar. Yeah. Omar Epps.
Yeah, this is one of those separated at birth kind of things that I love. I love these kind of unintentional Gemini pairings. Like, look at that. Look at those two guys.
Oh my God. You know what's a really good one? Have you ever seen
Look at this.
Okay. You want to hear a good one? That's uncanny, but have you ever seen the Troy Aikman Jay-Z comparisons?
Troy Aikman and Jay-Z.
Yeah, believe it or not. Try Googling it, see what comes up.
All right, this is really off the map.
Yeah. But they have some unique features that it's like you can't unsee it.
What are they, hermaphrodites or something?
They just have these camel-like faces.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we show the audience just so they know?
Yeah. So this is really a trip.
Yeah.
This is a good one, Al. Look at that.
It's so funny.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is so. Troy Aikman kind of looks like Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's ever asked Troy Aikman about that. So, Troy.
They must have at some point.
So, Troy, has anybody? This is a good one. Look, they decided to kind of do the this is the Danger Mouse mix right here. You know who Danger Mouse is?
He's some DJ.
He
did the Beatles like Coldplay matchups and like the Beatles.
He did the mashup between Jay-Z's Black Album and the Beatles White Album.
Yep.
He
Something
mashed
like
them
that.
up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Danger Mouse remix right there.
Like that one Fox, that commentator photo of Troy Aikman, it looks like Jay-Z dressed up as Troy Aikman. You know what I mean? So bizarre.
Matt Burns says Taylor looks like Napoleon Dynamite. What do you think of that?
I think Taylor Swift is a very good looking woman. I have no complaints about how she looks.
You sure
If that makes me a freak, I don't care. Or like people are bashing her looks. Come on. She looks good.
I actually had a girlfriend that looked like her one time.
Nice.
Seriously. Yeah. I guess.
She's Taylor very Sagittarian looking. Very Sagittarian looking.
She's total Sagittarian. Is Taylor? What are you doing, Al? You're texting in chat. Come on, brother. I need your focus. And
I'm not texting.
I'm
not texting. I'm just fooling around with something. Is Taylor a man? No, she's not. Not at all. I know it breaks a lot of truthers' hearts to say that that's a biological woman and she looks good. Like I don't think there's anything nefarious going on there. Other than that, yeah, she's a social construct. Yeah, she's a tool of social engineering. She's got some good songs,
I didn't know you were such a Swiftie, Al.
I'm kind of a Swiftie, dude. I can say that I like 5 or 6 songs without question. I wouldn't hesitate.
I wouldn't know 5 or 6 Taylor Swift songs.
Dude, check out 22 is a good song. I don't know, but that's a really good one. She has others. I kind of forget them. So that's why I said just 5 or 6. I would recognize them if I heard them.
Look at Al. Kind of knows the Taylor Swift songbook.
I know 5 or 6, yeah.
Do you know who owns her catalog?
Scooter Braun.
BlackRock.
Oh my God. That's even funnier.
BlackRock owns her fucking catalog, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you bring BlackRock. Okay, here we go. Saturn, Capricorn, the Hyper Black Cube. Now you have BlackRock making deals with who? Pfizer, right? And all these other kind of corporate entities that BlackRock is part of the entire global octopus with.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically sold her catalog to BlackRock. So anything that Taylor Swift does from licensing, and I don't know if she has a 360 deal, right? In the music business, they have these things called 360 deals that back in the day, you used to be able to own your likeness, you used to be able to have your touring rights, and that's how artists made money. They made they made it through merch and touring. If they were lucky, they made money off their deals. But then they came up with these 360 deals, which because the record industry went to shit and companies have to recoup their advances. So I wonder if BlackRock has a 360 deal with Swift, which includes likeness and merch and everything, in which case, remember, her father was the director or managing general partner of Charles Schwab. He was a huge fucking financial dude, like huge.
That's such a key piece of information right there. Who her father was and what he did for a living and how high up he was within that particular pyramid. Like that should be widely known, but it's not. You know what I mean?
And yeah, well, I mean, we've covered this ground before. Okay, so let's talk about the money thing since we're on it.
Right.
There's the weird connection between Kelsey and Swift, right? So you have Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift with the Chiefs, and then you have Jason Kelsey, who's retiring, by the way, and DeAndre Swift, who are on the Eagles. So you have this weird like Kelsey Swift pairing with both teams, very Gemini-like. And I looked at Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift, and their numbers are 0 and 1, which are binary. Right? 0 and 1 is code. Like it's just pure code. So if we were to move into a CBDC, everything's a 0 and a 1.
Okay.
And I thought, that's interesting.
So I have an interesting philosophical question to ask you about CBDC, because my theory is that it's already here. In my view, Bitcoin is CBDC and we already have it. What's your take on that?
I think the different take is that I think Bitcoin is CBDC with training wheels.
Okay.
I think the CBDC is a trackable, digital, non-centralized currency. I'm sorry, a centralized currency, not decentralized. And it's, invariably tied to your social credit score. Whereas Bitcoin is not that, right? There's not as many quote unquote tethers with Bitcoin than there would be with a CBDC. Because the CBDC, it is the gateway to the social credit score.
I suppose so. But here's my thing about that. Here's just my kind of counter argument, sort of how I view it, right? I don't buy into this idea that like Bitcoin is like totally this, you and I have
had this, and I agree with you. With you. We've talked about this. I think Bitcoin as a finite blockchain is a lie, by the way.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest scandal around Bitcoin is when they find out that it is not a finite blockchain. I think Bitcoin is the CBDC with training wheels. And a long time ago, I used to talk. I have this friend in California, and she got into Bitcoin at like 100.
Wow.
And she would tell me, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I said, well, what I think is that it's going to lead us to a digital currency that will enslave us. That's what I think. I think this is to entice people to take them down that path.
So what's interesting though, okay, so I want to tie it all in because it matters, because it seems like things are going to be happening relatively soon, right? We know Taylor Swift is a mechanism of social engineering. Her catalog is owned by BlackRock. BlackRock tied into finance, right? Based on some of your astrological predictions, things coming down the line here in March, late February, March, April, and I just get a general sort of feeling, and there's this sort of sentiment in the air that something's going down.
Well, I do think there's going to be an election. And I think they need the semblance of the financial system as we know it in place for that election to take. And I do think there's going to be an election.
Okay.
After November of 2024, all bets are off. And if you look at where Uranus is transiting into, it's transiting into Gemini. And so it's moving from Taurus, which is theoretical hard currency, Uranus, though, kind of electric hard currency, right? Uranus is electric. And it's moving off of that. But I will say this one piece that I looked at the last time that Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct in Taurus. And it was I believe, 1941. And the United States seized all the assets of Germany and Japan during that time. Right? So that's kind of an interesting timeline correlation between that conjunction. And we're coming up on that conjunction this year. Now, that doesn't mean that they would seize American assets, although, we're kind of, in this weird precipice. It could mean that there are other foreign entities whose assets they would seize. Like that could be another correlation to that time. I feel like when Uranus goes into Gemini and Jupiter, I think there's a bit of an overlay with Jupiter. I'd have to look, but it feels like when Uranus goes into Gemini, we are off into electric land, right? Pluto is in Aquarius, Pluto's assets, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is air. Everything at that time is electronic, digital, Wi-Fi. There's very little connecting us to the ground. So I feel like that's the time where we're in this major transition with currency. Currency literally meaning like current, right? Like electrical current.
Yep.
Now, does everything go according to plan? Not always. Like right now, you can see what's happened. Like John Kerry just stepped down as the energy czar, right? You have companies starting to come off ESG, which I think is really interesting and very important. You're having some major blowback with wind farms because they're fucking freezing and not working. Like a lot of that stuff to me is just like pump and dump, right? It's like we're gonna pump up this thing that everybody needs, and we're gonna go in this direction, and we're gonna make a shit ton of money, and then we're gonna dump it, right? I mean, look at all the Teslas that are just like frozen artifacts in Chicago right now at all the charging stations. You don't think people are paying attention to that? They are, right? So is it a given that we're going to go in that direction? Here's what I think. I think with Gemini, we have this bifurcation of society, right? A bifurcation. And I think you'll have one group of people that will sign up for that shit, right?
Yep.
And you have another group of people that won't, just like how it was with COVID.
Right.
And you'll have competing currencies.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that Florida basically said we are not allowing CBDCs into the state. And there are going to be other states that will follow suit. And they're like, no, we're not doing this.
Wow. So the currency ties in with the balkanization.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the thing about politics and where we're at as a country now, it is sort of like pro sports where you're rooting for teams more so than somebody who's going to enact policy that isn't favorable to this group or that group. It's kind of like you choose your own tribe is like becoming very important now. You know what I mean? To be in office while these other tribes choose their people to be in office. Kind of these competing demographics are sort of leading to the balkanization as well.
Right.
In a sense.
I had to put my man WC
Taylor Swift is a talentless actress manufactured in the same vein as the Monkees to excite children that have no musical taste or intelligence. Here's the thing, man. A pop hit is engineered, right? It's going to sound good. It's going to be catchy. So I personally understand, very well the hypnotic effects of it. But
what passes for pop music now is a pale comparison to pop from other eras. I just gotta say.
Here's the thing. It depends what your ears are tuned to, right?
I think there's some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Or auto-tuned too.
Yeah, auto-tune too. Yeah, that would be specific to the early 2000s. So I don't mind auto-tune. I think it's like I like
it's a total generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand auto-tune, but it's a generational thing. It's
Yeah.
what our ears are accustomed to hear. God, I wanted to say something about Swift. Are we done with Taylor Swift?
I don't know. I don't know if we can escape her.
Have we plowed this field enough?
Yeah, I think we've ridden this horse into the dirt for the most part.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting though, this whole thing about what's going on with the currency.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's I was going somewhere with this. What the hell was it?
Balkanization.
Yeah, it had to do with balkanization and Gemini
Tribes.
and the splitting off of these various like tribes, worlds, communities, etc. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Why insult the monkeys? The monkeys, the monkeys are interesting because they had the Wrecking Crew playing all their instruments. Gotta like the Wrecking Crew. Yep. And I do give the monkeys some credit because they staged. Oh, it's the coup. The coup. That's what I want to talk about. And the monkeys staged a coup against their manager. He was kind of their manager, I guess, Don Kirshner. They kicked him out. He said, Don, get the fuck out. We want to make our own music. So they fought for their case and they made a couple albums. It goes back to the colors of the NFL predictively programming who the contestants of the Super Bowl are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You look at purple, color purple, and it's related to everything that happened from the day Trump was elected in 2016 when Hillary and Bill showed up wearing purple. And I knew this. This is the purple revolution. We're in a color revolution. That's what we've been in. We've been in a color revolution. And the color's been purple, right? And I got into this with Prince, the death of Prince, the Twin Cities, George Floyd dying in Minnesota and the Twin Cities, Prince and the revolution, his band. I mean, it's all just fucking lines up, right?
Right.
George Floyd dies under the sign of Gemini. You have the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, right? So the color purple was omnipresent from the day Prince died. Yeah. I saw a concert a couple days after Prince died. It was Duran Duran and Chic. And they bathed the stage in purple light, and it was a precursor of everything. So we know that purple is connected to the purple revolution, right? The color red is associated now with the Conservative Party, red states and blue states. So that's what we have here, is we have a clash between the purple and the red. And what's interesting is that it's red and blue, and you get purple together. And if you go back and look at the 1980 election of Ronald Reagan, the smashing landslide of Ronald Reagan, red states were blue states back then. And blue states were red states.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, somewhere along the way, that shit got flipped. Maybe it was when Mandela died. I don't know. But that's what I think this color scheme is about. It's about the purple and the red, right? The clash, the culture clash that is kind of baked into it. And going back to the last time the 49ers played, it was the two Harbaughs, which we talked about before.
Yep.
Right.
Now with Harbaugh at Michigan winning the national championship, you can almost guarantee. I don't want to say guarantee,
but I think the 49ers have a really tough game this weekend against the Packers.
Yeah.
And we know that there are scripts. We know that the NFL can flip the script with some of these fucking shitty calls or players taking dives, right? I mean, I think that's all part of the, what's stamped on the back of the ticket. It's not like we're dealing with pure competition here.
Right.
But if the NFL, wanted to have a storyline or a script line, well, wouldn't it be great if John Harbaugh won the Super Bowl and Jim Harbaugh won the national championship?
Yeah. It's really weird that I've noticed. There's this propaganda of like Tom Brady passing the torch to Lamar Jackson. Have you seen any of this? Any of this type of propaganda? It's bizarre and it's very forced, but it is a narrative that's in play for sure.
Well, the real passing the torch should be to Brock Purdy.
Or it seems like they want Patrick Mahomes to be like the next guy that competes with
Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick.
Right.
Brock Purdy was taken 1 round after Tom Brady.
Wow.
The 7th round.
Wow.
He theoretically, nobody thought Tom Brady would ever be a pro quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody bet against Tom Brady. I mean, that's kind of the Brock Purdy script.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock Purdy. Oh, I love Brock Purdy. I think he's great. I think he's great.
Question: do you think the Buffalo Bills being red and blue together could be an encoded purple? Not quite.
I actually think the Houston Texans get closer.
Okay.
The Houston Texans have I think the Bills have kind of a royal blue, and the Texans have that really dark navy,
mm-hmm.
and they have a little red in their uniforms.
Okay, so combined, it would be purple for the most part. Wow.
Yeah. But I think that, I mean, if we were to decode the red and the red and the purple, that's what I would decode it as.
Yeah.
Right. Color revolution versus, the sort of the red in the MAGA camp. Okay. Because somehow red got associated with MAGA as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a question to ask you that kind of ties in everything. And I've been wanting to ask you this question for a while. True or false? Music, for better or for worse, is the most powerful magic in the realm.
Oh, hands down.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that as well. From what I've seen, yeah.
Techno Astral Vegan says, I'm seeing red for sure. Living in Florida where my homeowners should jump another $600 monthly. Think about that. $600 a month.
Yeah. That's
insane.
That's egregious. Yeah, I'm hearing those things quite a bit in Florida specifically. But yeah, the cost of everything is just astronomical nowadays. And it's just, I don't see how it's sustainable without some sort of debt jubilee or something. I don't know, or something worse.
Well, I mean, so they could do that. I mean, that's kind of the not so secret plan, right? Wipe out everybody's debt.
Yeah.
But then you own nothing.
Right. Or you're on a CBDC hook.
Well, that's part of it. And you're connected to, your little social credit score. So you can earn fake money with fucking fake jobs and fake community service.
Here, the counter to that would be that real things, real community, real skills, real values, real relationships would be even more valuable. That would be sort of the counterweight to that.
We're talking about a little while ago, competing currencies, competing models.
Right.
I think that's all on the table.
Yeah.
You throw 3 million new citizens into the mix, and kind of some unusual variables there, though.
Yeah, but they could just end up in a weird form of slavery themselves. Like one form of slavery that I think will be voluntary, and a lot of people will take this ticket, is like a central bank digital currency, and you can play video games all day and order food and live in a housing project, and you'll get universal basic income, and you basically play video games, get sick and die. And you don't have to work. I think a lot of people will take that ticket. Not a lot, not a significant amount, but some.
If they make so-called reality more dystopic and bleak and hook people up to the VR, sure, they'll take it.
Yeah.
They can live out their hobgoblin fantasies.
They can beat Final Fantasy.
Nora says, who gets NFL MVP? McCaffrey, Lamar Jackson. I think it should be McCaffrey.
Yeah.
But I think the NFL is socially conscious.
I'd say so. They have huge end racism on the end zones of every game. You know what I mean? Tribalism is bad. That's basically what they're saying.
So I think it's probably going to be Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be he was all pro. He's the all pro quarterback. But I think it's McCaffrey. McCaffrey is a beast, and he's a good dude. Now Seagard has a little counter here. Words are surely far more powerful. It wasn't music that kept people safe in their homes during the deadly pandemic. But I think you were talking about magic, though, right?
Yeah,
you were talking about magic.
Words are magic too. I see what you're saying, Sigurd, but what makes music so powerful is when you combine those words with a rhythm and a vibration and a tune, and a lot of people hear it. That's what it makes it especially powerful, is when you combine those things with words, singing, you know what I mean? Melodies, all those things.
Yeah. So do you know who Joan Baez is by any chance?
I don't.
It's a cultural sort of, thing. So Joan Baez was really popular during the 1960s. Her big claim to fame was that she was Bob Dylan's girlfriend. Although she was a folk singer and she was on all the protests. And she had this very sort of kind of folk meets operatic kind of voice, right? She had that. The one. What this is the exact opposite of words and music making magic. I was at this concert. It was the Amnesty They had these Amnesty concerts back in the 80s. Amnesty International was kind of a big thing back then.
Right.
And it was kind of an amazing bill. Like you wouldn't see that bill again. Started off, you know who the Neville Brothers are by any chance? Like a group from the Neville Brothers, this great group from New Orleans. And they had this really interesting blend of sort of rhythm and blues and kind of Creole music and sort of rhythms from like the Caribbean. These guys are awesome. They're all brothers. And then so they were there and they opened. And they have their kind of really interesting sort of Cajun stew of rhythm and blues, right? And then Joan Baez comes on, and she's going to play with the Neville Brothers. They're going to be her backing band, right? And do you know the song "Shout" by Tears for Fears? Do you know that song? It's a famous song.
I can't say I know it off the top of my head. I don't recognize it.
These are the things that we can live without.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right. So Joan Baez does a fucking version of "Shout" with the Neville Brothers as her backing band. And it was like the worst thing I'd ever heard live. And you'd have to listen to Joan Baez to understand what I'm talking about. And she was trying to use "Shout" as a political statement.
Okay.
And it was absolute garbage. Like Seeger gets it. Oh my God. It was an oh my God moment. It was a total oh my God moment. And you had to be there to realize how bad it was. So that's when music and words were not taking anybody anyplace that night. Levon Helm said he would never sing "The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down." Oh, that she ruined it for him. Yeah, Joan Baez ruined a lot of things for people.
She sounds like she sucks.
She's still around. She was like, she was very powerful in the folk mafia.
The folk mafia.
Yeah.
What a phrase that is.
Joan Baez doesn't translate teenage angst well. No, terrible choice. He should have just stuck to some fucking 60s protest song. It would have been much better. All right, let's keep it in the Bay Area a little bit. Let's talk about the Warriors. Can we talk about the Warriors?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Tanking? Are the Warriors tanking?
They should be.
Yeah. That's fucked up.
So,
I mean, the whole tanking thing, I get it, but it just destroys the spirit of competition. You know what I mean? would you pay
Well,
money to see an NBA game?
so they suck. The Warriors are terrible now. Everybody is expiring. Like Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is now like talking shit to the fans, right?
That is funny. That is genuinely funny.
Klay is an Aquarian,
Yeah.
right? And he's gonna just kind of do his own thing. So they asked him about the fans booing, and he basically said, "I'm not losing sleep over it.
Right.
You know, I get paid.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like if you're a fan, do you really want to hear that? You know,
Here's the thing. He's right. He's right.
Well, for Klay, he's right.
Mhm.
But as a fan, you're like, oh shit.
Well, this is a question I want to ask you. Would you spend money to attend an NBA basketball game?
Well, I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was because I wanted to take my son to a game.
Okay.
And I didn't spend a ton of cash.
Yeah.
But when the Warriors came to Houston and they played Houston, I think it was last year. It was last year, and Jordan Poole was still with the Warriors.
Wow.
And they won. They beat the Rockets. But it was just a thing for me and him. Other than that, I wouldn't go.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't.
That makes sense. You know, just a way to hang out. But for me, it's like, I don't think I would, just because I'm not going to go, and some guys that you pay to see play a game, they're not playing. The whole load management thing kills me. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. And so now the fans are booing the Warriors.
Mhm.
And they're so it feels to me like we don't really have any real dynasties in sports now. Like the Patriots dynasty is kind of over.
Yep, definitely.
Right?
Oh, it's over. So
they have moved heaven and fucking earth to make the Dodgers a dynasty, but they can't.
You know,
The Warriors, kind of the last. So these dynasties are ending.
yeah.
Right. And we look at dynasty as it relates to empire. And that's kind of what I was getting at with, the headline in the show tonight, which was dynasties end, right? And, are we coming to the end of this story of America and American exceptionalism and, all the things that have built up this story, whether it's a fiction or not, right? What do you think about that, Al? We're kind of cycling out of these sports dynasties, and how does it relate to the American story, the American dynasty?
That's a great question. That's probably the most burning question of our time. You know what I mean? What's gonna really happen with this American dynasty? I think that as long as our US dollar is backed by a giant military and a completely militarized culture, I think the party's still rocking. And it's going to change. Different guests are coming in, different guests are leaving. But as long as I think the American dynasty is dependent on football. As fucked up as that sounds, when you look at something like the invasion of Iraq, right? Who did it? It was young football players on Adderall listening to G Unit. You know what I mean? But it was a failed mission after about 20 years. But from a logistics standpoint and just from an engineering standpoint, it's a fucking incredible thing, right? And we're still in a position culturally and economically that I think the American story is in good position just because we have.
There's a difference between a story, and an epic.
Okay.
There's a difference between a country that has a robust economy and a dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, we're talking Rome, we're talking Babylon, right? We're talking Byzantium. These are the kinds of models that we're comparing this story to.
Yeah.
So if you're using football as a gauge, I think football's in trouble.
For me personally, within the last week or so, those retirings and seeing how things were going, I'm thinking to myself, I'm fucking out. Like, I just don't give a shit about football anymore. They got me in this year, right? Because of the betting. I was kind of bought off in a way. I was like, I got intrigued with the legal betting, and that kind of ran its course with me. I'm not that into it as I was. You know what I mean?
I'm proud of you, Al.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm proud of you for shaking your addiction.
Yeah, exactly. But like a true Virgo, I only bet when it was legal. You know what I mean? Now I'm kind of over it. And I see where football is going, and I'm starting to see your point, because that's how I've been feeling this last week. I'm like, yo, this is changing. There's a lot of weird shit happening. There's a concerted effort to put women into football, and that's just wrong. Like, it's just bizarre. I think it was you who the Commanders, they have a woman football coach. She's the backup running back coach or something. And then there's women reffing the games, and it's like, this is immoral. Like, you should not have
Taylor Swift.
Right. You should, exactly. But what are they doing? They're kind of putting women on the battlefield in a weird way. And that's when that would be a sign of a declining, potentially over empire. That's a bad sign. If we use football as a gauge and, using women on the battlefield, yeah, that's a bad sign. I can't deny that. So the story continues for America for sure, but this recent chapter, it's getting a little weird for sure.
It is getting very, very weird.
Yeah.
Astro Guide asks, which zodiac would be strongest in sports? I think Nora said Aries and Capricorn. I think those are two really strong signs. But it depends on the sport. I'm convinced that that Pisces and Pisces athletes are some of the best at basketball, because they understand flow, right? Basketball is a flow game, total flow sport. And I think it could be dependent, but I would go with Aries, Capricorn. I'd throw Sagittarius in there. And believe it or not, I'd throw Gemini into the mix too.
Yeah.
I'd throw
Personally,
Gemini.
I would put Capricorn in there. I think Tiger Woods and LeBron James both recently had birthdays, both Capricorns.
Yeah, they're both born the same day.
Yeah,
years,
which is strange.
Yeah.
Aquarius, this is like something that got me into astrology, is the fact that Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Cristiano Ronaldo, I think there's a few others that they're all Aquariuses. Some of the greatest of all time are all Aquariuses. So I would definitely put them in there just because they have some of the greats,
Is it crazy serving due to Pisces? He's talking about Luka. Luka Doncic is a Pisces.
I love Luka. Luka's awesome.
Oh, well, Doncic is a Pisces, and so is Jokic. Jokic is a Pisces. This is what I'm talking about.
A deep dive on Jokic sometime, because in my view, he is one of the very few true professionals in sports.
Yeah, we had a good talk about Jokic for sure. Look at Vince, the estrogen bowl.
It's going to get weird. The Super Bowl is going to be very strange this year.
Jack Strom, who I think is a fan of the Astro Chat action, that Dolphins Chief game is unwatchable. They just show Taylor Swift nonstop.
Yeah.
Well, the game was terrible, and then you have the Swift show in the box.
Yeah. It was unbearable to watch on social media. I didn't even watch that particular game, but just the amount of Swiftie Nation being represented just on social media alone was a bit much.
The Super Bowl brought to you by Kaopectate.
The Superb Owl.
The Superb Owl. Nora says the refs in the NFL are all liberals. They're taking their orders from Roger Goodell. They're like the cops who take their orders from the mayor. And Roger Goodell is the mayor of the. It's interesting. They talk about, this is a word they use with pro football, called protecting the badge or protecting the shield. They use the same fucking term for the NFL as they do for the police force.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the show here.
Yep.
Let me ask you a quick question. Jason Whitlock last night alluded to the fact that he thinks that Dion Sanders is a Mason, and that this
Yep.
whole thing with Dion Sanders is just high level Freemasonic kind of updraft. What do you think?
I think that Dion Sanders, being a Leo, is a lion in a very fancy cage. I think he's locked into that role for the foreseeable future, and it's somewhat of a circus, right? Just like the Leo that he is, people are gonna buy tickets to see the circus. And as far as him being a Mason, fits the profile, makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of Masons in sports. Shaq is a big one. That's the first one that comes to mind. He's pretty public about that. Yeah, it makes sense to me. It fits the profile. We know for a fact that he's being used as a cultural proxy. We did that full show on his handler. And, the Ringling, I think it's, what is it called? The Ringling Brothers Circus. They were big time Masons too. So I think he is the lion of this particular circus.
I like that metaphor. By the way,
Yeah.
shout out to Danny Katz, who's here.
What's up, Danny?
I want to
How
say
you
hi to
doing?
him. So Astro Emotion, Dion has sold his soul, not the same dude anymore. Would you agree with that?
It's not for us to make that judgment, whether or not somebody has sold their soul. I don't think us as humans, that's not our responsibility. We can gauge it. You might think so. I think he's still got a soul. I'm not going to be the person who says he does or does not have a soul. I think he's a loving father. He's a candid person. I think he's going to put a lot of young men in good positions, but is he going to put himself first and, perform in a circus? Yes, for sure.
All right. I think he's a Mason.
Okay.
I think he has all the markings of a Freemason in my humble estimate. I think Jason's onto something.
Yep.
And maybe he's, going through the Boule portal, right? Or maybe he's a Prince Hall Mason, which is what Shaq is. Shaq is a Prince Hall Mason.
Right. And LeBron James has a Boule tattoo on his chest.
Yeah, right.
Right.
He does.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And didn't Kobe have like a butterfly thing going on too, somewhere on him? I think he did.
Yeah, he got that tattoo after his whole ordeal in Colorado, but some speculate that that is indicative of MK Ultra Monarch programming.
Right.
That tattoo. So
yeah. No, I think he's got the whole Boule thing just blazing across his chest. All right,
yeah.
Let's get our predictions in way ahead of time with Dion and the Buffaloes for next season. What do you think?
Funny you should ask, because the only bet I like based on what I'm seeing right now with the transfer portal, based on the speculative odds, are for them to make the college football playoffs. 12-team playoff. They've got 20 new transfers. An interesting model. They're not really recruiting that much out of high school. They're mainly just concentrated on that transfer portal. Currently, Dion and his team are currently targeting players out of the University of Alabama. They've dropped one. They didn't get one. This kid Bond, he went to Texas. But based on the 19 new players that they have, 19 new players, that's like a damn near a new roster, including an entirely new offensive line. My prediction is for them to make the college football playoffs.
Jack says 5-7 at best.
Okay. That would be funny, but that's what I'm going to bet on it, to be honest with you. That's like my one bet.
Okay, so Sigurd is chiming in on UFC for this weekend. I'd recommend the UFC main event this weekend. It's one of the more interesting battle of wills in some time. So who do we know who's fighting this weekend? Sigurd, can you put in the chat who's squaring off this weekend in the UFC? Hopefully they'll do that. Nora went to school with Cordell Stewart and Rashawn Salam. So Stewart is part of the the Neon Dion posse right now at CU. And Rashawn Salam, poor guy, he passed away.
Yeah.
He had a couple of good seasons with the Bears. All right, so here we go. Sean Strickland versus Dricus Duplessis. Did I say that right, Seeger? Dricus Duplessis. What do you know about any of those guys? Anything?
I know Sean Strickland is a charismatic guy. You know, he goes viral. I see some of his stuff. Overall likable guy. So maybe I'll check out the highlights after.
Seeger's breaking it down astrologically. American redneck Pisces versus Boer South African Capricorn.
Why do our people have to fight? Why can't we all just, get along?
American redneck Pisces. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, if it rains, maybe the Pisces has a chance.
Okay. Interesting UFC question. Al Dog versus Anomaly. Who do you guys got?
We're back at this again.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I'm not really kidding. Like, I'm down. We just got to enact a plan and execute. So I'm throwing it out there. I'm going to win. I'm going to bet everything I have on myself. So.
I'd put my money on you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd put my money on you, Al.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying this because you're a co-host of the show. I kind of went in there psychically.
Okay.
I kind of felt into it. And I take you.
Okay, cool. Appreciate the vote of confidence.
Isn't Anomaly really tall with reach? I think he is a tall guy, Al.
Yeah, I think he's tall. I don't think he's a small guy at all. I think he's tall. I think he has reach.
Jones got the strategy right here.
Yeah.
Just grab his hair.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look at Michael's even chiming in. Michael's our fight expert here.
He's my trainer.
I have Al Dog winning that fight.
Thank you, Michael. We're gonna work hard on this. Like, I'm not even, get the ball rolling. And I don't know where you live, but we can Zoom. We can figure some things out.
Okay, so I want to know if you take on Anomaly.
Yep.
And you beat Anomaly, where do you go after Anomaly?
That's interesting. Because ideally, you'd go after somebody more famous, and that's like a good athlete that may or Owen Schroyer. After that, we're going Owen Schroyer because I think he'd be down. First of all, and I could sort of maybe troll him or something, and then I'd go after him if he gets out of jail.
Astral Guide says, I get like a team manager and doctor vibe from Al. Sorry, I don't know you.
Okay, that's fine.
Astral Guide just, oh, here we go. Michael's got a good one. Got to bring this up here. Do you know Archaics, Jason?
I am familiar with his brand and a little bit of his story. I've never actually watched a video.
Okay. Archaics. He lives down the highway from here in Texas. I might be able to set that up.
Okay, I'm down. I'm definitely down.
All right. Al, it's been great tonight. Thanks for being
All
here.
right.
Everybody else, thanks for being here as well. We'll be back on Monday instead of Tuesday because we wanted to get the games out of the way. Didn't want to compete with all that absolutely, time-stopping NFL action. Gracie will be with us next week.
That'll be fun, man, because she's a Chiefs expert as well as an up-and-coming astrological superstar with ESPN credits. So that'll be fun.
Okay. We're gonna end on this. Seeger has weighed in. Where is it? Hold on.
Roll Tide.
No. See, the chat keeps moving. He's weighed in. He looked up Anomaly. Had never seen him before. Has no chin. Chinless wonder. Al inside of 2 rounds. There we go.
Yep.
I'm with him. I'm with him on that.
I'm representing all of Sirius Sports in this when I so it's bigger than just me.
Yeah, and Al, I think Anomaly might need an L here. He might need to take an L.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
All right, let's cue up the soundtrack. Thanks everybody for being here, and keep it serious. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.